And we're very powerful. This country is very powerful. So let me tell you, it's far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world that we have. More powerful than anybody even, not even close.
So the soldier explains it kind of like a shockwave that went out, and immediately they all fell, blood out of the ear, nose, mouth. Once that happened, they were useless, is what he says. There was nothing we could do. We could not even think straight anymore. He blames the Americans for not fighting fair because he says they were shooting out of the helicopters. And before they even hit the ground, most of those people were incapacitated and could no longer fight back. They were just watching it all go down and couldn't do anything about it.
But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us. Nobody. We don't want to have it. We don't have the discussion, but you read all and you see everything else. Nobody could have done that. Nobody has our weapons. Nobody has the quality of our weapons.
We got to talk about a wild story that is going viral. That likely is true because White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt actually reposted this. A story from a Venezuelan security guard loyal to Nicolas Maduro who found out, right, when the Delta Force, aka the D, invaded Caracas and captured Nicolas Maduro. Apparently, the U.S. used a powerful mystery weapon that brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees during the Maduro raid. Now, this is according to a witness. Again, I'm assuming that this is true because the White House press secretary basically retweeted it. But this soldier, who was very afraid, right? He was not feeling too good, right, about what happened. Basically, this weapon incapacitated all of the soldiers before the Delta Force could even get on the ground, right? Basically, they were already defeated before the soldiers got to the facility that Nicolas Maduro was in. And I want to play this clip of this guy translating what the soldier is saying, okay? I'm going to play a little bit of the soldier speaking Spanish, but I'm going to play a clip after that of somebody translating what he's saying, and then we're going to get into this because apparently this story has Latin America on edge, right? They understand in the United States we are the most powerful military in the world and that we have weapons that are otherworldly, right, in nature in regards to how we can just straight up destroy a city like Caracas like that, right? Or to capture a dictator or a leader of somebody's country like that. So without further ado, roll the clip.
Eso fueron nada más 8 helicópteros, solamente 8 helicópteros dijeron ellos. Y fue verdad, pues nada más fueron 8 helicópteros y 20 hombres. 20 hombres que mataron a 200 hombres, bueno, 32 de un solo coñazo, más de un poco de guardia de honor presidencial, un poco de civiles. Y solamente eran 20, pero los armamentos que tenían, bueno, eran unos armamentos que me dicen los panas que disparaban más de 300 balas, bueno, por minuto. Unos armamentos que
A security guard that was protecting Maduro has spoken, and you got to hear what he's said. It's in Spanish, but I'll translate. Also, Trump announced that, the cartels, they're going after him in Mexico. The whole vibe of Latin America has changed because of what happened in Venezuela. And now that we're getting first-hand accounts from people that were there, the soldier says, we didn't hear him coming. He says the Americans had technology superior to anything they've ever seen. Everything that they were using for radar, for anything, was completely taken offline. They had drones, and the drones were taking out bases and taking out things faster. They didn't have no technology. They've never had to fight against drones. He also talks about that there was only 8 helicopters. There was only 20 men that were sent in. And those 20 men killed hundreds of their men. And none of those soldiers were injured. He talks about it felt like they were firing 300 rounds a minute. Nothing they've ever seen. Nothing that they can compete with. And then he also talks to the fact that the Americans had some kind of sonic shock boom that was sent out, and everybody immediately started bleeding profusely out of their nose. They couldn't even gather themselves because whatever was sent at them made them fall to their knees and vomit blood out of their mouth and out of their noses. They were incapacitated immediately. He says he never wants to go through that again. Doesn't want to have to fight with the Americans again. He's sending warnings to everybody out there that you think you can fight the Americans. You don't even know what their weaponry is like and what they're capable of. 20 men took out hundreds, and that's starting to spread all through Latin America. And now they're not saying, if you want me, come and get me anymore. They're like, oh shit. Especially after Trump says, hey, Mexico, you're on the list too. We have an update to the conversation from the Venezuelan soldier that we brought up yesterday. He talks about the initial group of soldiers that were taken out were Maduro's security force that was comprised of some Cubans and some Venezuelans. He said all the Cubans were taken out right to the dome. He talks about all of the air defense systems that were knocked out by Tomahawks with intense explosions. In one instance, it knocked that system into the ocean. They landed on a boat and killed 5 patrolmen. He talks about 4 F-16s that were taken out. There was 4 civilians that were unalived. He talks about one woman that was standing in the front of the naval base. They took out all the bases and all the air defense systems. That woman was knocked 5 meters into a house. That's how intense that explosion. This is going to be super interesting. You're going to find this to be interesting. He switches and does a 180 and says, hey, listen, we shouldn't have a problem being the 51st state of the United States. He says the amount of investment that's coming into the infrastructure, into the educational system, into the hospitals, and into the oil facilities are going to do amazing things for this country.
Wow. 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 This is what I'm talking about when I say that the vice president of Venezuela, the woman that's now in charge, how do I know they're going to play ball? How do I know they're going to listen to the United States of America? How do I have confidence that, you know what, this experiment probably is going to work out, right? This regime change is probably going to go better than what we've done before in the past. It's because I know that she, the current leader of Venezuela, does not want the D. She does not want the D at her doorstep. They saw what happened to Nicolas Maduro. They saw what happened to his bodyguard. They don't want that to happen to them, right? They're not suicidal. So again, all these people who are impatient, right, who don't understand that, no, we do have a plan. We know exactly what we're doing. And the Trump administration is executing the plan beautifully. Again, they don't really see the vision, right? Because again, in 2026, it is easier to smear the Trump administration and to pretend like they don't know what they're doing, rather than to actually listen to the Trump administration and understand that no. Logically speaking, right, just using common sense, if the Venezuelan government, the current government, if they're not suicidal, they don't have a choice but to play ball, right? They don't have a choice, okay? They don't have a choice. So, yeah, apparently we used this powerful mystery weapon that brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees during the Maduro raid, okay? The U.S. used a powerful weapon that brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees, bleeding through the nose and vomiting blood during the daring raid to capture dictator Nicolas Maduro, according to a witness account posted Saturday on X by the White House press secretary. In a jaw-dropping interview, the guard described how American forces wiped out hundreds of fighters without losing a single soldier, using technology unlike anything he has ever seen or heard. Quote, we were on guard, but suddenly all our radar systems shut down without any explanation, the guard said. The next thing we saw were drones, a lot of drones flying over our positions. We didn't know how to react. Moments later, a handful of helicopters appeared, barely 8 by his count, deploying what he estimated were just 20 U.S. troops into the area. But those few men, he said, came armed with something far more powerful than guns. they were technologically very advanced. The guard recalled, quote, they didn't look like anything we fought against before. Hey, sounds about right, right? Sounds like the D, right? Sounds like the D. What ensued, he said, was not a battle, but a slaughter. Quote, we were hundreds, but we had no chance, he said. They were shooting with such precision and speed, it felt like each soldier was firing 300 rounds a minute. Then came the weapon that still haunts them. At one point, they launched something, I don't know how to describe it. He said it was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt like my head was going to explode from the inside. The effects were immediate and horrific. Quote, we all started bleeding from the nose, he said. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. We couldn't even stand up after that sonic weapon or whatever it was, right? Sounds like ancient alien technology. Sounds like the type of technology that you recover from a UFO crash, right? I'm just saying, that's what it sounds like to me. So, I love being this powerful. I can't lie to you guys, right? How can you not read something like this as an American and say, hey, you know, I can sleep safe at night knowing that we got this type of weapon, right? That we're instilling this type of fear in our enemies, right? Makes you feel good, right? Makes you proud to be an American, right? You want to throw up the American flag, right? The White House did not immediately respond to a question regarding whether Caroline Leavitt's sharing of the post caption, quote, stop what you're doing and read this, indicated the administration was verifying the veracity of the eyewitness account. I believe Dan Bongino, who now formerly worked for the FBI, he also retweeted this, right? He also made a comment about this as well, too. An estimated 100 Venezuelan security forces were killed in the January 3rd attack, according to the country's interior ministry. It is unclear if any of those were caused by the mystery weapon. The outmatched defenders were helpless as the small U.S. unit wiped them out. The guard said, quote, those 20 men without a single casualty killed hundreds of us. He claimed we had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I've never seen anything like it. Again, sounds like the D. Sounds like the D. The military has had direct energy weapons which neutralize targets using focused energy such as microwaves or laser beams for years, but this could be the first time it's been used in combat by the U.S. An ex-U.S. intelligence source told the Post China reportedly used a microwave weapon in 2020 against Indian soldiers during a border dispute in Ladakh. The source noted that those weapons have capability to produce at least some of those symptoms, including bleeding, inability to move or function, pain, and burning. Quote, I can't say all of those systems, but yes, some, the source said, and we've had versions for decades. After the raid, the message couldn't be more clear. Don't tread on Uncle Sam, the Maduro loyalist said. Now, he says, the message is clear. Don't tread on Uncle Sam. Quote, I'm sending a warning to anyone who thinks they can fight the United States. He said they have no idea what they're capable of. After what I saw, I never want to be on the other side of that again. They're not to be messed with. The guard said the raid has already sent shockwaves across Latin America, especially after President Donald Trump recently warned that Mexico is now on the list. Everyone is already talking about this. He said no one wants to go through what we went through. What happened here is going to change a lot of things, not just in Venezuela, but throughout the region. Yeah, nobody wants to find out. Nobody else wants to find out, right? And it looks as if it's already happening, right? The results are immediate because Nicaragua frees dozens of prisoners amid pressure from the Trump administration, right? So Nicaragua's left-wing government has announced the release of dozens of prisoners following pressure from the United States President Donald Trump's administration. I wonder why, right? I wonder why all of a sudden Trump said jump, they said how high, right? And they immediately capitulated, right? The government of President Daniel Ortega said in a statement on Saturday that, quote, tens of people who were in the national penitentiary system have gone home to their families. The statement did not specify the exact number of people freed or whether they have been detained for political reasons. While the government described the move as a gesture to commemorate 19 years of Ortega's government, Nicaragua is under considerable pressure from the U.S. over its human rights record and a years-long crackdown on opposition leaders and Activists. Yeah. So to me, it sounds like Trump is flexing on Venezuela here and flexing on Nicaragua. Okay, to the point where they're releasing political prisoners. We saw in Venezuela some of those prisoners being released. We have President Trump here basically saying that they're going to go after the cartels next in Mexico, right? They're going to be doing land strikes.
We've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water, and we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country, but the cartels are running, and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year. The drugs, it's horrible. It's devastated families. You know, you lose a child or a parent. I mean, parents are dying too with drugs. So we've done a really good job. We're knocking it down. The numbers are really getting to be, they're always going to be too high if you have one person, but they're going down just like the border. The border was a total mess for years. I did it the first time very quickly, and this time I did it even better because this was a bigger mess. This was a border like no other probably in the history of the world. There's never been a border like that when anybody could just walk into your country.
The border's ostensibly really closed now.
Closed. You can't come in, and nobody comes. Nobody even tries.
I was thinking about this from the thought exercise, where I'm like, because I know these units. I'm intimately familiar with them. Bro, if we declare war on the cartel, like these dudes are not gonna understand what the fuck is going on.
No,
like,
of course
they,
not.
They are gonna be, because God,
You'll
God
stop
bless
the
those
distribution.
guys.
That's going to be, yeah.
They are in for a world of like ultra violence they've never actually felt before, because they, obviously this is a very capable ultra violent organization. They have fucking no clue. If we organize these tier 1 units against them, this is going to be what I would be doing if I was down there. Like, I know all those shoe boxes in my fucking, my walls that I'm going to have to collect up. I'd be getting ready to retire right now. That's what I would be doing. Because if Delta Force is hunting me, bro, I would be so terrified.
Is that a real thing that they've proposed doing?
Yes. That is a real thing.
Who proposed that?
I'm almost positive either JD or Trump had said something with the new guy from ICE, like we're going to mobilize tier 1 units against the cartel. The only thing I thought was like, retire. If you guys got some money, man, I would like put that away, like maybe move Jamaica,
Open
I don't
up a
know, go
restaurant.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy a restaurant. Like
Buy a
try to go
restaurant.
legit, because
Yeah, go legit.
dude, if those guys are hunting you,
Yeah.
by the way, like you're done. You're fucking done.
And it's a weird thing that's going on right at our border.
So
it's a
strange.
weird thing. Because it's so close to us, and it's so ultra-violent and dangerous, and it's just completely shaped the way the entire economy of the country works. They have so much power and control, and it's a criminal organization that is almost entirely, at least, funded by us, by our desired. Trump declares war on cartels. President-elect said notorious crime syndicates and drug kingpins will never sleep soundly again once he launches his plans to tackle the issue.
I've thought about this for a long time, where I'm like, if they turn loose Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 on cartels and pedophiles, we could just kind of like erase the problem in about 2 years. Just be gone.
He wants to send troops to Mexico. He said we
Yeah,
make
yeah.
appropriate
There we
use
go.
of special forces, cyber warfare, and other overt and covert actions to inflict maximum damage on cartel leadership, infrastructure, and operations. Oh, Jesus. Bro,
And
it is going to get wild
It's
come
getting
January
wild.
20th.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that. Don't you guys just love a strong leader? Right? Don't you love a strong leader? Don't you love a president that is actually willing to flex our power, right? And to do it in a way that's responsible, right? We're not losing American citizens, right? We're not losing soldiers. We are doing regime change with minimum casualties, right? Which, hey, seems to be working out in our favor, right? That leads me to the other side of the world, Iran, where it looks like regime change is happening. I know some people had commented on my videos, they wanted to hear my opinion on this. Well, my opinion on this is that it looks like Trump may have been right again, right? When you talk about bombing Iran, getting rid of their nuclear facilities, putting pressure on the Ayatollah, right, the government in Iran, and trying to create regime change because that's what they want. Like, I'm not one of these people that believes that that's not what the United States is trying to do, right? It's not just about the nuclear facilities. It's also about the fact that we don't want their government there anymore, right? And part of the reason why is because of resources, right? Control of resources in and out of Iran, right? A pro-American government in Iran would be great, right? When it comes to the geopolitical game that we're playing against China and Russia, right? And I know there'll be some people in my comment section say, no, you don't understand. It's actually about Israel, right? Israel is the reason why we're doing all this. And I'm only going to say this. Just because the United States and Israel have mutual interest, right, in Iran does not mean that we're doing it because of Israel. That's not what it means. That assumes that we don't have the ability to make our own decisions, right? And that we've never done anything that Israel didn't want us to do. When I can give you a great example of how we did not go along with Netanyahu, we did not go along with Israel when they wanted Trump to basically invade Iran, right? When we first bombed their nuclear facilities and Israel wanted to keep fighting Iran, okay? They wanted us to do a ground invasion of Iran to go ahead and to do the regime change right then. And we didn't do it. Trump made Israel and Iran stop fighting. Basically made Israel stop fighting. So that in itself is direct evidence that we don't do everything that Israel wants us to do, that sometimes we have mutual interests. And when our interests are not the same, then President Trump has shown that, no, we're willing to put America or our interests first over Israel when our interests diverge, right? But again, that type of nuance is something that a lot of people have a hard time understanding because there are people who really do believe that everything we do is because of Israel, and it's just not true. They don't understand that a lot of Israel's interests and the United States' interests, particularly in the Middle East, are the same. And when they're not the same, it's very clear when the United States is not going along with what Israel really wants to do, right? If Israel can have it their way, they would still be heavily fighting in Gaza, right? They would still be doing that if they could have it their way. It's because Trump put pressure on them to stop, right? To come to a ceasefire. That's why we currently have a ceasefire. Even though it's not perfect, it hasn't been perfect. But again, I can have concrete examples of us not doing everything that Netanyahu wants us to do, right? So when it comes to the situation in Iran, again, Israel and the United States, we both have mutual interest in getting rid of this government. That's just reality. We may have different ways of going about doing it, right? I think Israel wants more direct conflict. The United States, Trump is taking more of a different route, and you're seeing Trump's strategy here pay off due to the fact that, hey, you know, when you have the United States on your side, right, then a lot of things are possible, right? Particularly if you don't like your government and your government is an enemy of the United States of America. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Welcome back. Iran is in a near total internet blackout amid widespread anti-government protests. Authorities cut off communication more than 36 hours ago, raising fears of a brutal crackdown to suppress dissent. The demonstrations have raged for nearly 2 weeks in more than 100 cities. You are seeing footage there from the capital Tehran, where some protesters chanted, "Long live the Shah." They called for an end to the Islamic Republic and the return of the Shah's exiled son. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump issued another stark warning, threatening to hit Iran, quote, "where it hurts," if it uses violence against protesters. Iran's supreme leader has said Trump should focus on, quote, his own country. For more on what's taking place across Iran, I want to bring in our Paula Hancocks in Abu Dhabi. Paula, thanks for joining me again. President Trump is weighing in on the protests with